Test, test, test. Come on now, somebody. Come back to me. I got to tell you, we had a technical difficulty. So maybe people are going to pick back up. So I just want to kind of go through this show, everybody. I apologize. I'll go through and edit this so it can do. But I want to talk to you about the ERA. I want to talk to you about Equal Rights Amendment. I want to talk to you about the story I was going to set everything up with this morning. And that story was about Helen Reddy. So my wife and I, we literally doing a lot better with not watching so much news and doing certain things. And so one of the interesting things we're doing is I'm like doing better on Netflix. And so we watch these movies, we pick up interesting movies. And as yesterday's story was like, I will fight till the very end. I did the AI image of literally a young unmarried woman with a young son doing life, doing things the way they're trying to do to get through life, to get through this world. And it kind of tried to hit me because obviously I was basing it on one of my children. And I watched the progression of her life. I watched what the difficult natures of being a single woman is. And I've had a front row seat to women basically my whole life. And so I kind of wanted to talk this through with people that are hopefully going to be able to come back through this audio difficulty we had. But I want to talk through this whole process of basically I am woman. And it's interesting because yesterday I touched on Helen Reddy. I touched on like how interesting it was that the very first album I ever bought was a movie or an album by Helen Reddy, and it was called Helen Reddy's Greatest Hits. I think it was a 1975 release, and it had all the greatest hits of an Australian artist by the name of Helen Reddy. Now, a lot of you may or may not have heard of Helen Reddy, but Helen Reddy was like a juggernaut in the 70s. And in the 70s, I kind of forget about all this equal rights amendment, equal women's movement and feminism and all of this push for women to be equal was going on in the 70s, the beginning of the rising up of women. And so it's kind of interesting, as I was telling the story yesterday, I teased it yesterday because I wanted to talk to you about being, 10 years old, in the basement, in my bedroom with a little vinyl record player playing Helen Reddy's Greatest Hits. And I remember dancing around to Angie Babe. I remember Delta Dawn. I remember I Am Woman. And so, the horror of my dad, I can't imagine, like he's a football coach, he's all thing masculine. And I do remember him coming down there and a couple times and saying, "What are you listening to, son?" And I'm dancing around the room, like carrying on. And I'm singing, "I Am Woman. I am I even got the words here. I pull up. I am woman. Hear me roar. I'm in numbers too big to ignore. And I know too much to go back and pretend because I've heard it all before. And I've been down that floor and no one's ever going to keep me down again." Yes, and here it is. I am wise, but the wisdom is born. You can be never. And then the chorus is, "I am woman, watch me grow, see me standing toe to toe. I spread my lovin'. Oh yes, I am wise, hear me roar. I am woman, I am invincible, I am strong. I am woman, I am invincible, I am strong. I am woman, I am invincible, I'm strong." And you can imagine like a 10-year-old boy in the 70s tromping around like singing "I Am Woman." And I got to give my mom credit for what's going on here because I don't remember any of my friends ever picking on me and saying, "What are you, like a fag or gay or queer?" Or, those were the words. Those are the words. I know you're going to say, "Oh, we don't say those words." But words are words. People say words all the time, right? Like some words are bad words. Those are words we don't really use anymore. They have no purpose. But in the 70s, man, those were words. But I don't ever remember being made fun of in whatever third grade, fourth grade it was, because we were singing "I Am Woman." Angie Babe, Delta Dawn, what's that flower? So here's what's going on in the 70s. Here's what my mom's done. She's introduced me to Helen Reddy. I'm guessing. I don't know how else I would have gotten introduced to Helen Reddy. I put the record on. I'm playing it. I'm learning about Helen Reddy. But what I'm really learning about is this idea of subliminally really. I don't even think Helen Reddy knew what she was doing because I watched the movie, and I'm gonna give you the trailer on that next year to kind of bump this show up a little bit. But was this? I am being aware of this movement, and there's lots of movements in the world, but I was being brought aware of this movement of the repression of women. Now, I got a lot of friends. I mean, guys, everybody, thanks for picking back up this morning because that audio thing was really bothering me. We fixed it. But here, I'm going to tie a lot into this show today, and it's gonna be a little bit about civil rights. It's going to be a little bit about equal rights amendment for women. I'm going to give you a little history on that. But I think you can't ignore the core of what the story here is of a young man dancing around, singing the song "I Am Woman" at the age of 10 in 1974, 1975. Helen Reddy is just this white female that comes out of Australia, and you're going to see in the movie trailer. I really, really want you to watch this movie, I Am Woman. And we're going to run the trailer here real quick, and then we're going to break the show down a little bit on like, what is the 14th Amendment? What is the 15th Amendment? What is the 19th Amendment? What is this elusive ERA, Equal Rights Amendment, this elusive amendment for equal rights? Equal Rights Amendment, equal rights for all persons, right? And there's going to be some blowback because I think the Republican Party, the Conservative Party are the ones that are keeping this thing from happening over 100 years. You got the Democratic Party who's literally pushing for equality in many, many ways for mostly the right reasons, most of the time, sometimes. I mean, this is politics we're talking about here. But I'm going to go all the way back to civil rights. But what I want you to do is put your mind around 1972, 3, 4, 75. And I want you to understand that this country, you know, I just think we forget, you know, really what the past is sometimes. I mean, I think ever since the movie of Roots, and, you know, for most things and the way the media is now and racism for Black people and all that, it's a real thing, man. And I'm not denying it by any stretch. But I think that my position on this that I wanted to share with you that I shared yesterday is that the most discriminated race the world has ever seen, has ever experienced, is women. Right? Women, like, okay, there's Black women too, right? I mean, like, there's all kinds of women, every color, creed of women. I mean, women is a race. It's a gender. Yes, it's a race. There's men, there's women. There's the only two genders. Come on now, somebody. Some people move genders around and operate differently in that regards, but you have a trans man and you have a trans woman, which means that one was a man that wanted to become a woman and one was a woman who became a man, right? So there's still two genders. There's just some gender confusion. So let's just leave it at that. So the argument here is that there's a woman and there's a man, and the woman has the most oppressed race the world has ever seen from the beginning of time to even today. I mean, I just get up and my wife, I'm telling her what I'm going to talk about today. She's busy and everything. She's like, yeah, I'm really proud of you, honey, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, are you paying attention? Yeah, she's doing her thing, doing everything. And all of a sudden she jumps on her computer to get her day started. And the first thing that pops up on her computer is this. Over 70% of HR professionals agree that women face discrimination in the labor market. New SHRM, SHRM, which is a HR study firm, research finds survey results March 27, 2020. So 2024, 70%, most all HR professionals have confirmed that we still have a pay gap from women to men. So not only, so I want to just kind of give you the parody of me dancing around as a 10-year-old little boy singing the song, I am woman, I am invincible. And my dad didn't throw me out. He didn't make fun of me. Nobody made fun of me. But what was going on in that regard back in the 70s was this women's outcry to be recognized as equal, being recognized as human beings. You think, well, that's really a big stretch, Todd. Of course, women are human beings. I get it. But as far as back as time in the Bible and the Jewish faith and the Muslim faith looks at it even differently, and the Hindu faith, women are a different measurable from religiosity to civilizations over time. There has never been any disparity of what a man is, but there has been a disparity of where a woman ranks next to a man. And you're saying, well, Todd, I read Ephesians 6 and it says women are to obey their husband. Right. I get it. And you can look at it any way you want. I look at it. My wife understands it, and she looks at it the same way I look at it. She says, hey, man, I'm your partner in this. And as a partnership, I'm to obey what you have decided as the leader of this partnership. In most things, I'm the leader, the final decision maker. That's because we decided that's to be. Some partnerships probably have the wife as the leader. But the bottom line is, here you decided whether you're the leader or not the leader, but the bottom line in Ephesians 6, because I just want to get this out because this is one of the biggest hindrances you got in this situation is, so let's just say God said that because he did, and the wife is to be submissive in decisions, not in all this crazy things where our minds go and all that situation. God, he's not, he is, let me tell you why you're wrong when you go down this nasty submissive mindset role. Because if you're a man, you want it to be that way, number one. And number two, if you're a woman, it's not meant that way. But from a leadership perspective, yes, submissiveness was required in Ephesians 6 from God telling the woman to be submissive in decisions. But listen, before we get all hung up on that, because I want to get back on the Equal Rights Amendment, God then goes on to say, men, love your wife as Christ loved the church. All right. So if married women are to submit to their husbands in leadership, okay, let's move on. Now, what are men required to do for their wives? Men are required to love their wives as Christ loved the church. Read it, Ephesians 6, it says it right there. So let's extrapolate that a little further for me, because how did Christ love the church? Christ loved the church so much that he died for the church. He died for us. He died for the wife, the church. So my question is this. Is it a greater calling, a more difficult calling for one person to submit to another in leadership, which somebody has to submit in leadership roles all the time in the world, every day, every moment, someone's submitting in leadership every time, every day. That's why we have hierarchy charts. That's why we have SOPs. That's why we have leadership organizational charts. That's why we have all these things to determine who the leader is. And God's just making it clear in this role, in this relationship, that the wife is to submit to the leadership of the man. But here's the thing. Women, don't get all on up or come on following, because I'm on your side today. I want you to understand that the man's job is to love his wife. My job is to love my wife so much that I would die for her. So if I love my wife that much, would I require her to submit to something as evil? Something that's not honoring her or our family? No. So let's just move on. God said in Galatians, there is neither no Jew nor Greek, there is no slave nor free, there is no male nor female, for you are all one in Christ. So let's get back on track here of the Equal Rights Amendment. So here, I want to get to some statistics. I want to get to some ideas, and I want to drop a bomb here. And here's what I want to just kind of do, because this show got a little wonky in the beginning. Thanks for hanging with me. Love these people following. It's a great topic, Equal Rights Amendment. I'm going to take you from the 14th Amendment in 1868, and then I'm going to take you to the 15th Amendment in 1870, and then I'm going to go to the 19th Amendment in 1990, and then I'm going to go to the 28th Amendment, which was introduced in 1923 and passed in 1972, but never ratified still to today in 2024. But what I want to jack you up a little bit about is this movie, I Am Woman. The song with Helen Reddy and me dancing around, frolicking around, singing I Am Woman into the horror. My dad walks in and says, "What are you dancing to, son?" And I said, "I Am Woman."
Oh, you must be the birthday girl. I got big plans.
Oh, so have I.
Oh, yeah? I'm gonna make $1 million by the time I'm 30.
Well, I'm gonna make 2 million. But good for you, keep it modest.
You're from Australia, right? What are you doing in New York?
If you want to make it as a singer, America is where you need to be. I'm being paid less than the band.
So they're men, they got families to feed.
Well, I've got a family to feed.
My mother tells me I have to choose between career and marriage. I tell her we can have both.
From now on, no one will tell us what we can and can't do.
Miss Reddy, you sing very nicely, but male groups all the rage right now. You've heard of the Beatles, right?
Did it ever occur to you men to ask women what they want to listen to?
Ellen, she's tapped into something here. Remember that march in New York and how many women showed up to that? Bunch of record sales marching down the street.
I am woman, hear me roar, in numbers too big to ignore.
Kind of angry.
It's man-hating.
Jeff, you okay with this?
What are you doing? You want to lose your recording contract?
This is more than just a song to me.
The winner is
Helen Reddy. And I would like to thank God because she makes everything possible.
I am invincible, invincible.
Okay, it's a great trailer, a very good movie. I enjoyed, most of the movie. It was slow in some pieces, but the nostalgia behind it and this idea of I Am Woman and actually bringing back childhood memories. And so, we're just going to push through this show. We're not going to have a mid-row break. But I got several phone calls yesterday, and one of the interesting things about this show is that, I get it. I'm probably not going to go viral. I'm the topics we talk about are too good, too inspirational, I'm not in here talking about political hate and talking heads and dirty laundry and all that kind of stuff. I really want to be positive, and so I just kind of put this whole thing here in perspective. So I get phone calls regularly after almost every show by one or two people, or a text message where this touched me, or this touched me, or I resonated with you there. And then you get on the line and you got some haters out there. And one of these days we'll do a show on some of the crazy things people say to me about God, about, being bald and, everything. But that means we're affecting people, and that's a good thing. I want to be affecting people, and I see a lot of you on this morning. Thanks for hanging in there with me today. A little technical difficulties, but here's what's going on. That movie brings me to a position of I Am Woman. And for me to say I Am Woman in the title of a song, is genuinely reflecting to me that when I was singing that song as a young boy, I was not saying that I was genetically a woman. I was saying I want to be invincible like a woman. That's really what was going on. Because when I think about it, I was dancing, I was happy. I am invincible. I am woman. Right? I never got weirded out. I mean, because as a kid, it was just like, this is empowerment. In what was going on in that time era, the movie the clip you just saw, there was this emancipation process of women. And I know this country's hung up on civil rights. I know this country's hung up on, and rightfully so. I mean, the civil rights and the Black plight in America is tragic. It's just awful. It's awful. I mean, there's no way around how much bullshit that is. I mean, like it, where it starts and where it ends, nobody knows. I think we're trying to figure it all out, but I can't wrap my arms around it. I'm just like, I got to move forward. But the thing that blows me away, as big as the racism cavern is, even to this day in 2024, it was worse at some day prior. And even as big as it was then, the plight for the minority of women is worse. Now, I'm going to say historically, in longevity, it's worse. Yeah, Black women, Black men, they are discriminated against. There's a lot of discrimination in this world. Lots, from to obese people to smelly people to homeless people to, I mean, there's enough of that crap to go around. I get it. I mean, like, listen, I'm not going to par my words. I might step in some stuff, but give me some grace here, my friends, because this has nothing to do about whether I love you or I don't love you, because everybody knows I do. I want to be a better person, and that's what I want you to be. And so we're picking on this idea right now of Helen Reddy, a little boy singing a song called I Am Woman. But here's the thing, back to the story, is I get a phone call from my good friend Agent X, and he calls me. He says, I gotta tell you, it's a text message. I won't lie, it was a text message. He says, Todd, I gotta tell you, I loved your show yesterday. It was great. Or it was yesterday. He texted me. So he said, I love the show today, to get that accurate. He said, I remember dancing to Angie Babe. I remember dancing to I Am Woman. ... And then he said, interestingly enough, I too have been married 40 years. And so the reason I'm bringing this up in the intro and kind of parlaying this, and I don't want to run out of time today, is that, I think that empowerment movement back in the 70s, this movement away from just man's music, just men being in control, men. And I got to tell you, as a young man, I remember hearing the term feminazi by some of these talking heads out there. And I was wondering, what did that mean? And why do women have to go overboard? And well, it's just like anything with the civil rights movement. I think you got to take too much ground. You have to go for too much ground so you can get some ground. So, I'm trying to liken civil rights to this women's movement, but I'm just going to give you some statistics here real quick that bother me, as I watch single females try to raise children in a world that I've been a part of for 58 years. And I think it's just very difficult. I watched my own daughter struggle with time with her son as she has to hand him off, time to get her career started, time with her son when she has him, time to herself, time to all these things. And then money plays such a crucial role in all of this. And when you're already suffering from time and you don't get the promotion because you're not a man, or you don't get the promotion because you're not willing to take a pay cut, you don't get to, because you're in a position, and I've been in that position when I'm looking at people, and unfortunately we're in a budget crisis or something of that nature, and your mind goes to like, who can we keep? Who can't we keep? Who would not leave if we didn't pay them exorbitantly? And who's stuck in their social economic plight? I'm not saying we talk about it out loud, but those I have. Listen, I've always telling on myself in this show, and this is why I think it's so important that you guys follow me, is because I'm gonna be transparent about my sins, my inequalities, the pieces about me that are regular. And so I know, if I believe strongly, if I am a position of power and I'm going through these thoughts of, oh, that's a woman, no one else is gonna hire her quickly. She can't move. She's stuck with her children. Maybe that's where we make a budget cut. That's how visceral. I mean, that's the. Of course, I didn't do it exactly like that. I didn't make actions, but when you think of things as a leader, things go. I mean, you can't stop thoughts. You can't stop like a nanosecond of a quick twitch mind, right? And so those are things that happen in that process. And women get left out 73% of the time, almost all the time, still to this day. And so I just wanted to give you the history of this, because the suffrage of the woman is greater than that. The history of the suffrage of the woman. I know I've got some civil rights followers on the show, but I'm going to make this comment. The suffrage of the woman's right over the history of the world is greater than the black person's plight in America today. So let's just call it what it is. And here's what blows me away. To this day, right now, 2024, there was an amendment passed in America, brought up in 1923 to give all women equal rights as men legally. In 1923. And in 1923, it never passed. And then in 1972, due to this song, due to Helen Reddy, due to this movement, I'm bringing it back around here, due to all these women in the surge for their equality and to step out and to work and do all things. I get it, man. That's a lot to raise a child, do a job, clean a house, cook dinner, do all these things, right? They're just better. Women are just better. For some reason, they can do it. Men can't go to work sick. Come on now. It passed in 1972. Women are equal. But then what happens? It doesn't get ratified. All this 3/4 of the states don't, whatever the number is, there was 8 states short of ratifying the legislation that was passed. So it never passes in 1972. You think we're living in America right now with equal rights? All major socioeconomic countries in the world recognize women as equal, other than legally, recognizing them legally as legal, equal beings, other than America. The leader of the world doesn't legally recognize women as equal to men. Yeah, I'm kind of pissed about it, to be honest with you. I'm not trying to be thumping my chest or anything, but I got 4 daughters. I got 80% of my workforce are women. And you're saying, Todd, well, it doesn't really matter because now things are different and everybody's equal and all that. And the 14th Amendment said everybody was be treated equal. Well, no, let's just talk about that real quick, because the 14th Amendment freed the slaves in 1868. You're all equal. You're free. But in 1968, blacks couldn't vote. So how can they be equal? In 1868, the slaves were technically freed. The country technically was supposed to do it. They weren't all doing it. I know there's some historians on here right now, but I'm just telling you right now that it was a process to clean up that crap that was awful, has to go through it. We're still going through it, 200 years or whatever it is now. But here's the thing. The 14th Amendment freed the slaves, 1868, 14th Amendment. 2 years later, in 1870, the 15th Amendment was passed. 2 years to pass a legislation to make an amendment to actually make it legal for black men to vote. 1868, slaves are freed. Oh, but everyone's not equal. No, 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 no. Black people can't vote. So let's go in. Let's do the 15th Amendment, a whole constitutional change. I mean, the change, the Constitution is like heavy lifting, bro. And so they go in there 2 years later, they finally get it passed in 1870. Black men can vote. Hallelujah. Black men can vote. Now, see, here, think about that for a moment. We freed all the slaves, which needed to be done, should have never happened. Get it. Let's get past it for the conversation right now. But the next big move America makes in a constitutional amendment was to allow black men to vote. So do you hear what I'm saying in the fine print here? Slaves were freed. 2 years later, we got to change it. This is still not good enough. Let's let black freed slave men vote. Who are they not letting vote? They didn't let black women vote. They didn't let black women vote. Well, that's BS. That's bullshit, right? They changed they freed the slaves, but they only let the black men vote. Well, how do you think the black women felt about that? Hold on, wait a minute. Guess who else can't vote in 1868? Guess who else can't vote in 1870 with the 15th Amendment? Women, period, couldn't vote. It wasn't just black women couldn't vote, but black men could vote. All men could vote, right? Think about, so this is where I'm just saying that is, and here's why I'm using civil rights right now as a lightning rod. It's because we as good people understand how awful slavery and the discrimination of black people has been. It's been documented on the reg. Freed black men, slaves, as horribly as they were treated, voted legally before women. Any color of a woman. Black women, white women. Now, don't hear me saying white women are more dominant than black men. Just hear me saying that we know viscerally how awful racism is and was, especially when slaves were being abused in the way they were. The black man got the right to vote before any woman in America. I just find it staggering. And the 19th Amendment was passed in 1919. 50 years later, women finally get to vote in America. I mean, I don't know why. I'm just trying to tell you that there's a lot of systemic things in this world. There's a lot of, and I know I've got Harold on here and some really good friends, and I know we have some we have some people from Africa here, and obviously the black race is represented on this call, and hear me tell you how much I love you guys and appreciate you. And I'm walking through some weeds right now, but I don't know how else to share the beacon of the oppression of woman over time in history than to compare it to the bullshit of the civil rights movement that we tortured and moved black people through in this country over a period of time. Women were oppressed before that, and even to this day, we still don't have this thing figured. We don't have civil rights quite figured out. We don't have women's rights figured out. And I'm just trying to make a call to arms here for women that are out there busting their ass. Yeah, I've dropped a few cuss words today. I'm riled up a little bit. I mean, because literally, I got 4 daughters. I got all these women in my life working, and I'm thinking, man, what is going on? What has to change? So here's just blows me away here is the 19th Amendment for the women's right to vote was in 1919, 50 years after the black freed slave got to vote, black man free slave got to vote. The 28th Amendment finally passes in 1972. It was proposed in 1923, finally passes in 1972, right? Some 50 years from the time it was proposed in 1923, ERA, Equal Rights Amendment, was passed in legislation in 1972, but never gets ratified, so it doesn't actually become law. And I'm not going to bore you with all the statistics, but it's 2024 right now. And here's the thing. In 1972, it was passed, and in 2020, the last state ratified the Equal Rights Amendment in America. This basically saying, I think I have it here. What is the Equal Rights Amendment? It's so ridiculously easy. Let's see here. I thought I had it. I had some study stuff here. The Equal Rights Amendment. It's only 3 statements. 3 pieces. Number 1, equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of sex. That is actually the 28th Amendment. Section 2 of 3, the Congress shall have the power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article. That's enforcement of the equality legally. And number 3, the amendment shall take effect 2 years after the date of ratification. So it never gets ratified. And all it's saying, it's really it's one thing. Equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of sex. And so my wife's like, well, what about trans? Well, and I'm asking the same. You're a man or you're a woman, pick your gender in however you're going to do it. So here's where we are. Why can't this be passed? Why? And to me, does it really play out that difficult in America right now? Probably not. But in a holistic perspective is, why are we not respecting women in this way? Why are we subliminally allowing men and leaders and people in this world to discriminate in women in pay and just kind of turn the other head because there's no way there's to enforce it. There's no way to, we just don't want to give them that equality. And you're going to say, well, the 14th Amendment said freedom to all individuals. Well, that was wrote specifically in 1868 to free all individual slaves. It wasn't directed towards women. The discrimination to women in 1868 was so overt that they looked past them and freed the slaves first. Now, white married women, were not treated as violently as we believe we've seen back in those days. I wasn't alive, as slaves were treated. But I do believe white wives took the word submissive out of the Bible in a very different context than the way I presented it earlier. I don't think they could go do the things my wife can do. My wife's a badass, man. She drives a Wagoneer. She's in charge of like every child in our family. She's grandma, nana, boss, mentor, mother. No, man, she's not like the way that was in 1868 when you were a wife to a man. She's a woman. So I just want to empower you guys today. I know we went on, we had a rough start here, but I really appreciate all the people sticking around and listening, having a lot of fun. And so here's the thing. I just want to close with this final comment. that I am woman. I'm going to say it right now. I am woman. I am invincible. I want you to look up Helen Reddy. I want you to look up the song I Am Woman. I want you to channel with her as a woman, as the most discriminated race the world has ever seen. I want to talk about African women. I want to talk about third world women. I want to talk about Muslim women. I want us to respect how brilliant, how tough, how incredible, how invincible women are. And I can't do much about the rest of the country, but I can have a little show here right now and encourage you to understand that when I say I am woman, I am thinking about how invincible that person is. And I want to be that invincible. And if I have to say I'm a woman to get that point across, I am not afraid to say that. I'm not afraid to say it. I'm a woman. I am invincible. Hear me roar. All right, guys, great show. I hope I made some sense to you. I hope these things can play in your life in a special, special way. And I'm looking forward to next week. Super excited. I am woman. Here we go, everybody. It was a great show today. We had a lot of fun with you guys. We had a great week. It is Thursday, so tomorrow you get the day off. But I want you to go to wireddifferently.com. If you get some time, go to wireddifferently.com. We're adding shirts almost every week. We got a lot of great things we're putting out here. Not every shirt says Wired Differently. Most of the shirts don't say Wired Differently. They got a good catchphrase, a good Christian thought process. It's got a great, good inspirational tie to almost everything that we have on wireddifferently.com. Get out there, check out, find a shirt that you like. If you see some things that you'd like to have a shirt say, get to us. We'll actually could probably create that shirt for you. Think about that for a moment. If you have a verse or something that you really think it's important to you, maybe you want a shirt that says I am woman. Hey, send me a text. We'll create a shirt that says I am woman, right? I am invincible. We'll celebrate this ERA thing. We'll bring this thing around ourselves. We'll do what we have to do for this country. But listen, help me grow this mindset, mission, and ministry and this movement of Wired Differently. I appreciate everything everybody's doing here. Get to wireddifferently.com, support our mindset, mission, ministry, and movement. Get a shirt. Come on, help out, support. Get your kingdom jersey on. Show people who you're supporting out there, and that's God. All right. God bless you guys. Have a great day. I appreciate everything.